With more than 15 years of experience across corrections, parole, workforce development, and program management, he has helped lead in initiatives focused on reducing recidivism, strengthening public safety, and expanding second chance employment opportunities throughout South Dakota. Throughout his career, Scott has served as corrections sergeant, parole agent, reentry specialist, and now oversees statewide reentry initiatives that connect justice-involved individuals with education, workforce training, community resources, and employment pathways. His work emphasizes collaboration between corrections, the Department of Labor and Regulation, employers, treatment providers, and community organizations to create sustainable reentry outcomes. Scott has played a key role in advancing the SAFER SD reentry model and developing partnerships focused on workforce readiness, employer engagement, and reducing barriers to successful reintegration. He is also a Sergeant First Class in the South Dakota Army National Guard, bringing over 16 years of military leadership and operational experience to his work in public service. Today, Scott will be speaking on second chance employment, workforce partnerships, and how collaboration between business leaders, DLR, and corrections can strengthen communities and create meaningful opportunities across South Dakota. Please join me in welcoming Scott Day.
Thank you, Chris. As Chris said, I am the South Dakota Reentry Program Manager. So what I do is I oversee all the statewide initiatives. And what I want to talk about today is about how employment and our partnerships with DLR and employers can really strengthen our workforce and as well as strengthen public safety. So as you can see, the initiative is Safer SD. It's a supportive approach for fostering education and reentry. With that, we talk about education, which we also partner with DLR with, and we'll talk more about that as we progress. But also reentry, a big part of that is employability. And we focus on that throughout their time with Department of Corrections. But we can focus on employability, mock interviews, and soft skills, but we really need employers to hire these individuals coming out of the community. And as I progress through this, I'll talk about why that's important. Let's see, I should be able to go to the next. So building workforce pathways through reentry partnerships. So South Dakota Department of Corrections, we partner with DOR through many different things, through LEAP, Title I, and Title II. What those are individually, we'll talk about as we progress through. But all in all, the end goal always is to find employment for our individuals leaving custody to better their life. Because I'll always say, statistically, if we can get people employed and surrounded with a good support system, their likelihood of coming back to prison is lowered by about 50%. If we can work together as a team, reentry can be not just an initiative within the DOC, but if we have the community play, we can all be part of one big system that can lead to success. So why it matters. And I talked about how if we can keep them employed, if we can work on surrounding them with pro-social supports, we can lower that chance of recidivism by 50%. And we all know, I don't know if we all know, but 95% of our individuals in custody are going to come out to the community. What that looks like is only 5% of our individuals are either there for life or capital punishment. So at the end of it, employment is one of our strongest predictors of reentry. If we can keep them employed and have good employment, something they can look forward to every day, support themselves and their family, it can also keep them away from doing those negative behaviors as far as any criminal thinking and help them on the path of being successful. So as the talking point says, public safety and workforce development are connected. When individuals leave incarceration with opportunities, structures, employment, outcomes improve for everybody. And that means employers can play a big piece in this. And I think all you employers are coming and listening. When we talk about Safer SD and what that looks like, our model is a statewide framework. We start at the day they come into the prison to the day they leave into the community. We focus on preparation, transition, accountability, and stabilization. As far as preparation goes, we use many different assessments. I'm not going to bore you guys with going into what these assessments do, but it's risk mitigation. We're looking at, oh, does this person struggle with employment? Does this person struggle with housing? And what we do with that is we look at barriers and how we can overcome them through supports, through education, through family members, anything you can think of. And I often use the term, people struggle with sobriety, right? I always use the term, if you can find something to latch onto. Let's say I have this coin right here, and this is what keeps me sober. I'm going to latch onto that. I'm going to hold that with me. And a lot of times with these individuals, and I know I have some DOC partners on here, that it can be employment. A lot of them will stay sober for employment because it supports their family and it supports everybody else. And in the end, that employability alone can help with the public safety initiative. And why that partnership matters with DLR and our employers. Employers, again, are a critical partner in reducing recidivism. I gave you a statistic of why that's beneficial and how that can help. But I also want to talk about how workforce engagement creates stability and accountability. Further on in this slideshow, you'll have the opportunity to say if you'd be interested in attending a reentry fair or a fair in our prisons to talk to our offenders, as well as have the opportunity to maybe interview them or look at if they'd want to work for you upon their release. So we collaborate with DLR. We use referrals internally to say if this person, let's say I talk about those assessments, right, and they're struggling with employment, we'll use DLR referrals to connect them with DLR because they are the fraction matter experts when it comes to how do I make you employable? How do you market yourself? How can we have those pro-social conversations with employers to be successful? We also talk about community organizations. That would be your sobriety centers, your treatment facilities, and then people that offer counseling to get past these, as well as peer mentors. I found through my time that peer mentorship can be a big deal. If you give people the opportunity to speak to individuals who have a similar background and can be supportive through some of these struggles, it's a good person for them to talk to, and it keeps them away from looking at that negative thinking. But I talked about treatment providers, educational partners. DLR also helps us with that. If people are struggling to get their GED coming out, DLR will help us with Title II and help foster that relationship into GED partnerships so they continue on with their education. During DOC time, we do assess them for their need for a GED. If you come into prison and you don't have a GED or a high school education, we will put them in the pool to get working on their GED and work towards that goal because we know that having that education makes you much more employable than someone that does not. Um, and again, I'm adding this to your stakeholders. Our employers are also our stakeholders when it comes to reentry and the DOC initiative. Employers, if you need good quality candidates, you have a good untapped pool right here coming out of the prison that would love more than anything to work for you, to learn from you and be able to build a future through employment. Again, business partners become part of the public safety solution when you help create that opportunity in that workforce structure. Again, talking about how DOC and DLR work together. We do coordinated collaboration between DOC and DLR workforces. A good example of this, and I know we have some of our partners on here, Adrian and her team, we work together on education. Right now, we have multiple different credentialing services going on. We have a welding, we have a plumbing. We're looking at going into precision machining, diesel technology, and also looking at business entrepreneurship. These are for offenders to do while they're in prison before they release, so they can come out with the skills needed by these employers. And that's a direct collaboration between DLR and DOC, one I'm very proud of. And when I talk about, the warm handoffs between correctional programming and employment services, we can have those handoffs. If you meet someone or if you need employers, you can reach out and we can have a conversation with a potential candidate early before they release to see what it looks like, employment, what you're looking for, and guide you to that person that can be most successful within your company. We all share the same focus, the readiness. Workforce readiness is key, especially with DLR and us, preparing them to have that interview, preparing them to start day one, time management. How do we have those simple conversations on a day-to-day basis? Maybe it's something they're not used to. A lot of offenders um, don't know how to have real conversations. And we work with that throughout our programming and with DLR to ensure that they can have that proper communication. Education, I spoke about that before. We really focus on the GED and then credentialing, as well as some tech school opportunities that can go past that 6 month period in order to get them to continue their education and become stable. And again, talk about stability long term. I'm not looking at, oh, what does this look like a year from you? I want them to go out and be successful, provide for their family, be a good person in the community, and to better our community through their work ethic and through stability and being able to not come back and leave this world behind. I don't want them to ever think, oh no, what if I mess up and come back to prison? I want to give them every opportunity they possibly can to be successful. And that's where, again, I'll keep saying this, employers can play a key part. If employers are able to give the opportunity for second chance employment, you can not only rewrite one chapter of that person's life, the whole narrative can change. Just giving them the opportunity to show up to work, earn a living, be around pro-social people that work every day, you can be a key part on bettering our public safety in our communities. Our LEAP program, the DLR's LEAP program, I should say. And that's linking employers and participants. What that is, it connects our justice-involved individuals to employment opportunities. A lot of what I spoke about with those DLR referrals, we work very closely with DLR to ensure that we find employers for people leaving our custody. And we provide workforce navigation and career support. So it doesn't just end there when they get employment. We can help them with some of those hurdles you might see in the workforce. Like, how do I talk to my manager? How do I ask for a day off? What if I'm not feeling the best today or I got a sick kid? How do I have that conversation? We'll keep working on those skills and we'll keep being there to support that individual. They assist with job placement, resume building. We have different ways building resumes. Right now, we have a baked-in method with our technology in the prison that allows offenders to build resumes. We're working on bettering that and being able to have a good resume coming out of prison is part of the Reentry portfolio that I'll talk about down the road here. We also talk about career exploitation. I don't want them just to find a job. We all know someone will stay at a job if they're happy doing it, if they feel fulfilled. So we talk about what best fits for that individual. And then we talk about barriers. We all know that some people might do a background check and there's certain crimes you're not allowed to have working for that company. We talk about that and we try to focus them towards companies that would take them. And that leads me to another thing. If there's something, I'll give my contact information at the end, but if there's something you absolutely cannot have as far as a felony or anything in their background, let me know and I will target people that you would find use of. And again, a lot of these individuals come out on parole. We'll coordinate with parole and my reentry staff to ensure the continuity into the community. That goes back. Continuity is a big word. We use that for everything. What that looks like going into our communities, what that looks like going into work, medical continuity. How do we continue appointments? How do we continue those support systems on the outside? So we don't want to make the offender feel like they're on an island. We want to make them surrounded by support, surrounded by pro-social individuals to make sure they're successful. And LEAP helps bridge the gap between release and employment by creating direct workforce connections. That's why our DLR partners are so important to us, especially when it comes to employability. So we'll talk about Title I, and that's that Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. What they do is employment and workforce development services. That goes into that mock interviews we talked about, as well as working with their um, like their talking skills, their soft skills, and looking into career readiness and what training can go into to create the outcome they want with their careers. Job search assistance, Title I will help them look for jobs. They'll be given an employment specialist to help them guide them through that path. And I know we have employment specialists on here, so before I continue on, I want to thank you very much for working with our offenders. And especially shout out to Adrian's team. So thank you very much as we continue. Something we've learned doing reentry. Corrections cannot do this alone. It takes a village, and every one of you is part of it, and I greatly appreciate that. We'll also go talk about the work-related barriers. I spoke about that before, about some of them just don't know how to have that simple conversation, like, oh, I need to miss work today, something's going on, or there might be a disability. We talk about, well, how we can make accommodations and how that works in the workforce. And then again, it also gives them access to that occupational training, workforce development programs, and career coaching, which they do with all of those programs I was speaking about before. Welding, plumbing, business entrepreneurship, diesel tech, that's future program. We're pretty excited for that. The Title I helps individuals gain the skills and support needed to become competitive in the workforce. Because even though we have a small unemployment rate, it's still competitive out there because that same 4% is looking for that job. And we're going to talk about Title II services. This is the service I talked about with GED. It helps them with their preparation and completion. Again, we follow this into the community. If they just didn't quite get to the point where they finished their GED in prison, we can continue that into the community. They can go do their testing, study for the GED test, and be successful. It also helps with the basic education services. A lot of our folks can leave, they come in with maybe an eighth grade education. So they also help us with those education services. And then we might have people that might have a learning disability. We can also get them connected and help with literacy, whatever that looks like. And again, literacy and workforce preparation. Literacy and workforce preparation, I mean, that goes down to what do you need to know to be a successful employee? What do you need to be able to say? What do you need to be able to read? How do you read instructions? How do you go through them step by step? As far as education aligned with the labor market demands, DLR is very good about working with us and finding education and opportunities that follow what the labor market needs, what you employers might need. So as long as we keep communicating with DLR and doing those surveys, we can find out and make sure to target our educations towards what's needed in the community. And of course, we all know education increases the employability and long-term success. If it's tied directly to workforce needs, it makes them successful, and that's the full continuity I was speaking about. Now, before I move on to the next slide, I want to take a moment to offer you all the opportunity to do a survey to see if you would be willing to come into the prison and meet with our offenders, as well as go to second chance employment options so we can meet parolees in the community, anything of that nature to assist with employability of our offenders. So far, 100%, I like that.
Did the poll go up?
It is up, yeah.
Okay. Did not show that on my side.
Yep, so
It did take-
these,
It did take down your PowerPoint though.
oh no. But yeah, these opportunities can both be inside prison, and we can also do second chance employment fairs in the community for our parolees that are struggling with unemployment. So it's beneficial for both sides of this of our continuum. Oh, did it come back? There we go. So then another minute or so, and then we'll continue on. Sounds like I'm talking to the right folks because a lot of you are interested in second chance employment and supporting that. So again, I really appreciate that and thank you all so much. I'm going to continue on and we're going to talk about preparing individuals for unemployment. I know I talked about the CTE programs and here they are again, but I'm so proud of the partnership we have at DLR with those. We get industry recognized certification. So these guys are coming out with the same stuff you get from an individual that went to a tech school. They would get that welding certification, they would get that plumbing certification, they would get whatever's needed to make them successful, stepping in that door with you as an employer and how that looks. Again, resume and interview preparation is key because we find that, these guys could have been in for 1 or 2 years. And if you're not preparing for what that interview looks like or what it's like sitting down with an individual to prepare to answer those questions, those common questions we give at interviews, we want to make sure they're ready and get all the jitters out so they can come in prepared to be successful. And resumes, some of these guys have never done a resume. And I think the biggest challenge when we build resumes for these individuals is they just don't know how to share their work history. My favorite thing to tell them is like, well, you did something while you're here, right? You were cleaning, so that's janitorial work, custodial. We can talk about things like that. You don't have to just say, well, I was in prison for 2 years. No, we can talk about some of the work you've done inside as well and translate that into what a resume needs. We also have a workforce readiness curriculum. We do mock interviews. Thanks, Katie. Mock interviews are very important. That's again to get that jitterness out of it, prepare them for what that interview is if they sit in front of you employers. I know it's never the challenge is I'm not trying to intimidate anyone over there, but interviews are just scary. You walk into a situation you don't know what's going to happen, and you don't know what kind of questions are going to be asked. So we will make sure we ask those common questions to prepare them for that. And that goes into our workforce readiness curriculum. I believe DLR has it bring your A game, which is fantastic. We offer that on our tablets for our offenders. We have a lot of education for employability baked into our tablets that offenders have through Adobo, CipherWorks, and our educational programs. We offer many programs that help them get ready for employment and being able to talk to you employers and be ready for success. So again, we don't focus entirely on the technical side, but we also talk about the thinking skills and behaviors that support success. We employers, I know you need someone that shows up every day, willing to work with a positive attitude. And I focus very strongly on that with our programs, but as well as the technical side. So Reentry portfolios, I spoke about these before, about when I talk about the resume. So every offender in our system leaves with their Reentry portfolio. And in those are very common items that they'll need to be successful on the outside. Resume, resume, resume. I'll keep talking about it. We prepare them with resumes so they understand how not only build one, but also present it to an employer in a way that are legible. I don't know about you, but I sure like when I get someone that I am hiring has a 1-page resume versus 4 pages. So I try to instill that, 1 page is good enough. If you're really concise and you show what kind of person, you got to sell yourself on that 1 page. So that way they have the opportunity to interview. They'll have their program certificates in there. So it'll show everything they've done through our educational platform, as well as what they've done in the prison, whether that be AA, your chemical dependency your mental health, anti-violence programming, anything like that will be shown in those certificates. And there's a very important one on here, vital documents. I don't know if anyone's tried going a day without your vital documents, but it's almost impossible. We've done a great deal, and I'm very proud of our Reentry team for this. When I believe I took over Reentry with Katie's help, we started with only about 28% coming out of the prison with 2 forms of vital documentation. Proud to say we're at 68%, dang near 70% of our offenders are leaving with 2 forms of vital documentation. And we know we need those to secure housing. We know that need those for employment. HR loves that stuff. And then we also talk about banking. Can't really get paid if you don't have a bank account. So we talk about that and what that looks like and how to establish that. GD documentation will come in this portfolio. Their appointment schedules. These guys can be very busy coming out. These guys and gals they have an intake with their parole agent, but they also need to intake with their chemical dependency treatment, and they need to secure housing. They need to meet all this criteria in a day. A great way of showing this is reentry simulations, which my associate has become an expert at. Katie, we've done big ones. And I think DLR, you guys are getting a huge one coming up here. I don't want to spoil anything, but we'll see. And with that comes the release documentation. That's what's expected of that person to be successful. One thing I want employers to know is when these guys coming out on parole, we're not just handing you that offender. You have the support of the parole side, the community. We have specialized agents that can work with these individuals that are a little higher need. We need help. We also help them with transportation. I'm proud to say that the city of Sioux Falls is supporting us. They gave us 600 bus passes for the year. So we're able to offer them that transportation to get to and from work. So that should take care of that need, but we also have other options to help if that might be a barrier. And then community resource information. We have them all leave with a 211 card. 211 is very important. Let's say someone's having any kind of struggle in the community, they can call 211. They'll be able to help them navigate or find a resource that can help them throughout that barrier. Again, we're always trying to tackle barriers. Some of these things are barriers that we wouldn't see day-to-day life, me and you. But they might not have seen this barrier before, not know how to overcome it. We've just had more experience, me and you on the outside for so many years. They just don't know how do I go to the DMV, or I guess I have to make an appointment now because DMV is booked up for 2 months. But these are things that we help them prepare for. Our job is to front load all of that so they can come out ready to work, ready to be successful in our communities. It all goes to having the right documents immediately after release, removes barriers, and for employment services. Another thing I want to point out is DLR also helps under their programs for bus passes as well. So supporting stability after release, we in the community, we have what we call transitional parole agents or reentry agents that for some of these higher needs offenders that might struggle to release or might struggle to find employment, these transitional agents are there to help them hold their hands and get them to the stability, whatever stability looks like for that person. Stability is different for every person. And again, they use structured supervision and accountability to do that. Accountability is as key to an offender's success as I would say housing. They have to be accountable. They have to know where they have to be at a certain time. They have to know what they need to do to stay on the good side of the law, as well as how to make them be successful community members. But doing that accountability piece is key because it keeps that temp gauge where we want it. And they also support with housing. Some of these guys struggle finding placement coming out or housing. We have some options out there that we've really evolved over time to make sure that's successful, as well as transportation. If bus passes don't happen, things like that, these individuals will help them get to their appointments and to interviews and such to make sure that happens. Again, they also help with treatment continuity. Some of the guys that you're going to get you have a higher level of treatment need, so they make sure they can get to those treatments so that they can be successful and get the education needed to stay sober, to stay successful, to stay in control of whatever that might be for that person. And then employment follow-ups. Employment follow-ups is part of accountability. It's part of parole that you must be employed. Usually everyone that comes out has about a 30-day period to find employment. That's what we're trying to do with this, right? We're trying to help them find employment prior to leaving. So there's not that gray area. What do I do without job? What do I do without funds? How do I do that? This person will help them, guide them, be more of a coach, and get them mentored to the right direction. I say 90 days after release because it's statistically 90 days for an individual when they leave incarceration can be the most critical part of their journey. We've seen, even at my years as a parole agent, if they're successful within that first 90 days, finding the key factors right, housing stability, employment, support systems, and sobriety, you're going to see a successful parolee all the way through. It's just very crucial that within the 90 days, we surround them with the things they need to be successful. So again, the first 3 months after release are the highest risk period. And stability and employment are critical. Employment, the funny thing about it, if employment falls into place, those other things fall into place pretty fast. I've seen that myself. And that's why, again, I speak out to you saying that employers, you are a big part of this, and I appreciate your support. You just being here, willing to listen, is a fantastic start to this partnership. So the benefits for employers. You have access to motivated workforce candidates. These guys are going to come out working. They're going to show up every day. They're going to be willing to learn because they want success. Almost all of them don't want to come back. I should say I want all of them not to want to come back, but unfortunately, I'm going to be completely blunt. No matter what we do to prepare them, there are ones out there that don't want to be successful, but those aren't the ones that we're going to present to you. We're going to present to you the ones that want to be successful, show up to work every day, and looking for an opportunity to be a pro-social member of society, and put all this correction stuff behind them. So again, this is an opportunity for you to fill those entry-level positions that you struggle to hire for, and to find what you need to fill those shortages you might have in your workforce. And you're going to have support with DOC and DLR throughout it. And as I'm talking, I'm going to give out my information at the end. If you are more interested and want to know more about this or be part of the initiative, let me know and we'll talk more about it. And again, this means reduced turnover through structured support systems. You're going to have a parole agent that's checking in with this person. You're going to have a peer mentor, someone that's going to be with that individual to focus them to make the right choices. It's more than I would say a normal candidate off the street would probably have. They're going to be surrounded with positive support to make the right decision. And then with that, positive impact on local communities and families. If you, the employers, are coming to the table willing to hire these individuals, you're alone helping making your community a better place. You're building communities. You're putting this person back in the community to be that neighbor that's doing the right thing, going to work every day. You're supporting that family. There's a lot going into it to make it a huge impact on the future of these individuals. I know I'm getting close on time, but I'm very passionate about this stuff. I'm working through it. So what I ask from employers, just for me, consider our qualified justice involved applicants. Reach out to me if you want to be involved. Come to these second chance job fairs. Come into the prison and speak to these individuals. You're going to find very passionate people that want to make a change, and you could be that key to their doorway of success. Just an employer that's willing to make that chance on these individuals can make all the difference. You're going to provide opportunities for growth and stability. Stability is the word of the day. Employers can be part of that. And then you're going to maintain communication with workforce partners. What I'm asking is I will maintain communication with you. And if there's something you're seeing of these individuals coming out that we can do better in the DOC or in DLR, let us know. I want to make a successful program, and your feedback is just as important. And again, support accounting workforce expectations. Treat them like you would any other employee. When they come work for you, if they're missing, have a conversation with them. They're learning through all those too. I always say every mistake is a learning moment. So talk to them about that. They'll create pathways towards long-term success. Just you letting them walk through that door first day of work creates that pathway. So I'm not asking you to lower your standards. I'm just asking you to create an opportunity with an employment and that accountability that comes with it, as well as everything else that good comes with it. I can pay my rent. I can support my family and put food on the table. And why this reentry model works. I didn't go into the nitty-gritty and the science of it on the social side, but what I'm looking for is just statewide consistency, trying to get everyone together on the same path with the same goal. It takes a culture change. It takes a village to make sure this is successful. We always go early interventions when it comes to our crises. That's why I always talk about barriers. I want my reentry team to be able to demolish those barriers. They are the team that'll make sure the success happens. And then again, workforce readiness is built in all phases. There isn't a phase we don't talk about employability. Coordinated handoffs, again, continuity is key. Being able to have that communication from the inside to the outside, being able to start those conversations early. And then everything we do is evidence-based and data-driven. I don't make a single decision unless there's evidence-based out there, there's data behind making that right decision. And then strong collaboration with our stakeholders. DLR is one of them. DSS, all of the state agencies, our community health partners, our community treatment partners, and now you, the employers, are all part of the stakeholder group. And I invite you to the table to be team Safer SD to make sure we can make this a successful program. And again, to my next slide, I'm going to give out my information. So my email is scott.day. Oh, Katie put it in chat. Thank you, Katie. And as well as my phone number on there. Don't be afraid to reach out. Email me if you want to talk more. I'm always willing to talk. And there's a nice QR code there where if you want to watch videos about how I talk about the reentry model, it's just a bald guy in a mustache talking about reentry. You go ahead and do that. But I appreciate all your time. I do. And from my heart, all I can say is you being here is the start of something big. Next step is please join those job fairs and talk to me about an opportunity of coming in and meeting with these individuals. And together, I believe that as a team, we can solve some of those public safety issues as well as drop recidivism and make our communities a safer place. Thank you. I'm Scott Dane. I'll hand it back over to DLR.
Do we have any questions?
There, this is Gabe here with Fayette. I just want to say one of the things I like that you highlighted is my company is Fayette Industrial Sanitation. We do sanitation work for production facilities, food production facilities across the United States. And not necessarily everyone has sanitation experience, but one of the best things, and you've highlighted that quality, is a willingness to work. You know, and sometimes that's hard to quantify that, you know, in a resume. That's hard to sometimes prove that right in an interview. But I think that the fact that you have your eye out for that is amazing, because we have so many employees that don't have experience but are so excited. Like I do stay interviews, right? And I recently did a few stay interviews today at our we cleaned the Demcota Ranch beef facility in Aberdeen, South Dakota. And I was able to do some stay interviews with folks that had no experience in sanitation, and they loved the job. They tell me how easy it is. They tell me, you know, it's kind of nice to get into that flow and you don't have to worry about like emails or, you know, anyone, you know, on you. You're just cleaning, you know, doing the job. And that's the type of things we're looking for, you know. So I think that's really great that you're already ahead of the game and looking for those qualities. Because to me, in my opinion, that's better than experience any day. Because we do hire folks with experience, and we still get turnover, right, in those positions. So I just wanted to add my 2 cents.
Thank you, Gabe, and that really, I really appreciate hearing that, because that knows we're doing something right. We're really focused on those individuals that need to show up to work, and they need to be ready with an open mindset to learn and be successful. And whatever success looks like in your career field. But I think you're right. You see it all the time, even from people off the street, right? They might show up for a day and then they just don't come back. These individuals are going to come, they're going to focus on working, and they're going to come back every day looking for the next step. They're going to be driven. We will make sure they are driven. So, and we're going to, again, the ones we offer to this group would be those driven individuals. So thank you.
Okay, well, thank you for attending today's Workforce Knowledge Session. Reentry Works, find talent, strengthen your workforce. On behalf of the Business Services team, we want to thank our speaker, Scott Day, for sharing such valuable information with us. A link to our survey has been posted in the chat. We would greatly appreciate it if you could take a moment and complete it and share your feedback. Your input helps us improve our events and better serve your needs. If you have additional questions, please feel free to add them to the chat. We will be happy to forward them to today's presenter. Our next Workforce Knowledge Series event will be held on Thursday, July 9th at 11:30 a.m. Central, 10:30 a.m. Mountain, and we'll be presenting Upskill Your Workforce. We hope you can join us. Attached is our Meet Our Team document. Please feel free to reach out to any of us if you have any questions. We're here to help you. With that being said, thank you to everybody who participated in the poll. If you responded with any interest in participating in a justice-involved event or have any questions, please reach out to your local business service specialist, who might even be the one you invited you here today. Again, on behalf of the Business Services team with the South Dakota Department of Labor and Regulation, thank you for joining us. We look forward to seeing you next month. Have a great day.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you, team.